Hello, my name is Rory O'Connor and I'm Professor of Health Psychology at the University of Glasgow. World Suicide Prevention Day is the 10th of September every year. And although suicide prevention should be every single day of the year, on the 10th of September we try and focus the world's attention on understanding and preventing suicide. World Suicide Prevention Day is so important because it's about raising awareness around the challenges and devastation of suicide. More than 700,000 people globally lose or struggle to live every single year, and the ripples of suicide is vast. Those ripples, those devastation on families, friends, communities is incredible. And on World Suicide Prevention Day, we try to highlight the challenge of suicide prevention, highlight that suicide is preventable, and that every one of us can play a role, no matter how small, in preventing suicide. Sadly, there are still so many myths around suicide. Indeed, some people believe suicide is not preventable. Some people believe that if somebody's intent on ending their life, that suicide is inevitable. But it's not. Suicide is preventable right up until the very last moment. Another key myth is that asking somebody about suicide plants the idea in their head. It doesn't. Indeed, the opposite is true. There's research which shows that asking somebody whether they are suicidal, whether they are struggling, could be the start of a life-saving conversation. There are many different things that we can do to support somebody who's in a suicidal crisis. But a starter would be just being there with somebody, being alongside them in their suicidal pain is an amazing start. People who are suicidal often feel that they're a burden on those around them. People who are suicidal often feel that the world would be a better off place without them in it. So please just reassure them. Recognize and validate how they're feeling just by saying, it must be really difficult, but you are really important to me. Please, I know you're struggling or you're suicidal, but suicidal thoughts do not last forever. They're not permanent. So please hold on, because you are needed and the world would be a much, much poorer place if you weren't in it. It's so important that we prioritize funding for research to prevent suicide. Although in the recent decade or 20 years, there's been a greater focus on mental health research and suicide prevention research, we still have a long way to go. So for example, over the last 10 or 15 years, the evidence base for what psychological or psychosocial treatments work to prevent suicidal behavior, that evidence base has grown. But we still don't know, even though we know it's effective, those treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy are effective in reducing suicidal behavior, we don't know who those treatments work for best. We don't know whether they work for men, we don't know whether they work for people from different ethnic minority backgrounds, or a whole range of other characteristics. So that importance of tailored research and tailored clinical practice and treatment is absolutely vital. So I'm hoping as we look forward to the next 10 years of research, and we looked at this in the Gone Too Soon paper recently. The Gone Too Soon project was a project led by MQ in which we brought together 40 experts from across the globe, and we tried to prioritize the research which would be the key actions to prevent premature mortality associated with mental illness and mental distress. And we identified 12 key risk factors and 18 key actions. And those actions included tailored response for treatment. Those key actions included tackling inequality, tackling trauma, tackling racism and discrimination, tackling access to treatment, looking at new ways to ensure that the people who need help get it when they need it, tackling things like the whole strength of evidence which is out there which says actually early life adversity is a risk factor for mental ill health and suicide. So what can we do to ensure that people who are experiencing early life adversity are protected and supported? Without research, it's just guesswork.